Udio has actually updated its terms of service. And when a company updates its terms of service, sometimes we go, oh, what's going on? You are required to give credit to Udio. Example, in the track title. I'm like, what would that be? Miss Crystal X Udio. The last time we spoke about Udio's terms of service was in April, and specifically it was April 26th. And at the time, we were just kind of going through because we just go, look, this platform was pretty much just a few months old. And for music creators, this is insane what it's already doing, what we're hearing about. And so we've been covering all the updates of things that have been happening, including that, the three major labels have joined forces. They're actually suing not just Udio, but Suno. That's a separate conversation. What we want to do today, though, is to go through because Udio has actually updated its terms of service. And when a company updates its terms of service, sometimes we go, oh, well, what's going on? Sometimes it's in response to a claim or criticisms. And sometimes it's just because they are updating something, right? So they're updating the service and they just need to make some changes. So what I thought I would do, because I'm a real lawyer, and when we have clients who have contracts and they get updated, we have to run red lines. And so I'm going to show you a red line that I ran between the terms of service so you can see all the changes that they made. Okay. So we're going to do that as number one. Number two is we're going to go through for anyone new here. And, if you use this platform or you're curious about using it, I want to basically hit the most common questions that I have been getting about this. Okay. So for example, one of the questions would be, well, if I use Udio and I don't use the output that's created, but I use it for inspiration, or I go and recreate it, am I okay to do that? Okay, we're going to answer that question. We're also going to talk about ownership. Do you own what you generate, what you create on this platform? And also the copyright question, right? So do you have copyright in what is made? So we're going to address those. And my goal, because this is, as always, these things are super long. I want to go through and make this super concise. And we're going to do it the way that I do through my law firm, which is to actually just show you the stuff. I've read the whole thing and now I've read it multiple times. But I'm going to show you the stuff that you should care about. And that's really important for purposes of answering those questions. One thing I'll just mention right out the gate when we pull up the red line is that Udio, in conjunction with updating its terms of service, officially launched the updated version of Udio, and we're at version 1.5. And I went through and took a peek at what 1.5 entails and was mesmerized and horrified all at once because I'm also a musician and artist, and it's crazy. But just looking at the things like they're like, the output audio quality is super great. They're showing you the interface because the interface is like you can put in your prompts, you can put in lyrics, helps you write your lyrics. But now they're doing stems. You can actually download the individual drums and different things. So you download the stems. You can also upload tracks and do remixes. And the one thing that kind of horrified me just a little bit, and I just can't help that it was my reaction, but I cover songs. And my thing is I'm in dark pop. So I love taking like a Disney song and transposing it and making it a dark, creepy, slow version of the Disney song. So the transposing is now done by Udio. Okay, so snap of the finger, it's done. And then also they'll help you, make lyric videos. I mean, it's so that's where we're at. Now, my job as a lawyer is we're going to go through and take a peek at the red line, which I will pull up right now. Here we go. And we go, all right, so if the change is made, we see in red. Okay. And so it goes, we know you updated the date. And as I'm going through this, I go, just curious. All right, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but this was updated a month after we did our review of the terms of service for Udio. Now, was it just because it was like in conjunction with their updates? We know that these companies seem to be paying attention, so who knows? Maybe they made some updates based on some things that we pointed out on the last video. We're like, all right, so they, added something about there's subscription fees, free trials, and then we see this giant block here, and I think it's section 3, just red, lots of red. So this is all the new stuff, and we're going to be talking about this. So what's the new stuff? It's related to your user accounts, the subscriptions, and the free trials. So just to jump to it, basically there was a few little typos that they fixed here and there throughout, but really it just had to do with the subscription. So, on an initial pass, I was like, all right, good. It seems that the only updates they made had to do with the fact that they offer subscriptions now. So I went through and let me show you what this looks like on my side. So here is the May 20, 2024 version. Couple quick things. Okay. So we go, it was last updated, right, on that date. Also, this is the agreement between you and Udio, which is Uncharted Labs Incorporated. Now, because we went through the lawsuit, I added just a little note because I'm always like, where are they located? They're located in Delaware. Okay. Because it says it in the lawsuit. So they're located in Delaware and they have headquarters in New York. Just FYI. So now what we're going to do is just kind of go through and with these questions in mind, which I know you're interested in, real quick on section 1, which is how does this work? Okay. So in the contract that you are signing in order to use their service, section 1.1, they go, there is input content, and the input content is the stuff that you put into the system. Okay. So it's going to be prompts, directions. Okay. It might include lyrics or audio files. But it's important that we understand that when we see input content, that's what that means. And then from there, there's output. So the output is the stuff that gets spit out by Udio. And it goes, you acknowledge and agree that we may use your input content and output to train or otherwise improve our services. Now, for me, as an artist, a musician, I have yet to use this as part of kind of my creation process, but I know that a lot of people do. Okay. And that's why we're doing this. And so for me, I'm thinking, I'm really going to pay attention wherever it talks about the use of my stuff. Because, what I can say, my firm represents a lot of music AI and tech companies. Okay. So we're very familiar with these kinds of contracts. And so we know that they generally do need to say that when you upload stuff onto the platform, the company has the right to use it for the purpose of using the service. But how far does it go? And this was something that kind of stood out to me as I went through this. Okay, so section 1.2, the services may allow you to download copies of other people's outputs. I was like, ooh, what? And similarly, that those users may download copies of the output, but it's only for personal and non-commercial purposes. And then it goes on to be like, well, if someone else downloads your output, I don't know how that would happen. Okay. So practically speaking, I don't know how this works on their platform, but it does say that your, the thing that you made could potentially be downloaded by someone else. They're not supposed to use it for commercial purposes, but they would have it. And then it goes on to say that, they would have to get prior written consent before using it and, yada, yada. And I was just kind of like, so again, in my mind, if I uploaded something, do I want someone else having it? So just making a note on that. So 1.4, you may not direct the services to generate any output that is unlawful. Okay. So it's just, don't make stuff that's obscene, violent, pornographic, invasive, harassing, threatening, inflammatory. Okay. You must be at least 13 to use the service. Okay. 3.2, subscription. So this is now we're in the new stuff. Okay. So with the subscriptions, it goes, if you don't pay the fee, we'll terminate your account. Okay. We'll terminate your access. And then also, P.S., we're going to keep your credit card on file. We're going to keep billing you. If we do make changes to our fees, we're going to give you notice, but obviously you agree that we're going to keep billing you. So all just like normal stuff. Okay. I'm just pointing it out so you know. And then 3.3, it talks about the renewals, the cancellations. So far we're not really nervous about anything, but practically speaking, please let me point this out. Okay. So in 3.3, it goes, if you want to terminate, if you want to cancel, what you guys have to do is to email info@udio.com. Okay. And what they do is that they go essentially, we're not going to give you any refunds, but you'll cancel if you're in the middle of your month. You get the remainder of the month. Okay. And so we're not just kick you off right away. You get the remainder of the month, but then, you're done. But if you do want to cancel, you email the info@udio.com. All right. Moving on, free trials. Let me show you this. 3.5, if you do not cancel your trial account. So this, again, I'm not offended by this, but it's just an FYI. When you sign up, it sounds like you have to put in your credit card information. If you forget to cancel, they're going to keep charging your card after the free trial. Everyone does that. We don't love it. So please calendar. Now, this is where, we get into the juicier stuff that we really care about. So section 6, ownership and content. Now, when we're looking at this and just being like, we know that there's a lawsuit against Udio, And what the lawsuit is claiming is that Udio went in and, had its AI train from music that is owned by Warner, Sony, Universal, and they didn't get permission. And so the reason I'm pointing this out is just because I'm like, that's interesting. So here in regards to their ownership, this is what they say. And they go, the services, right? So what Udio provides includes the look and feel. So for example, text, graphics, images, logos, etc., which is proprietary content, information, and other materials, and any technology used to generate any outputs, right? So if you make anything using their platforms, they're like, hey, just so you know, this is our platform, which is protected under copyright, trademark, and other intellectual property laws. Okay, we're going to talk about that. You agree that the company and or its licensors, this is a big question, right? We're like, who are you licensing your music from? Because they haven't told us. And the labels are all alleging they like basically went into Spotify or other, music platforms. They downloaded everything, made copies, trained their AI, didn't pay anybody. That's what the labels are alleging. But anyway, in their terms of service with you, they just say, hey, this is our proprietary stuff. We own it. We've gotten rights from our licensors. We don't know who that is, but just, And so also, we reserve the right to create derivative works. So number one, in regards to the copyright, the one thing that we do know is that under copyright law, something that is generated by a computer that is made by AI does not get copyright. Copyright law attaches to anything that you make, which is awesome, right? So if you, record, you come up with a great vocal melody and you record it into your phone, the second you make and you put your you put your idea into a tangible medium, you have copyright in that, that file that's on your phone. But what the Copyright Act does distinguish, and it goes, authorship is basically defined as a human-made thing. So what we do know is that there's no copyright protection. So just in, how they kind of drafted this, they're like, we own copyright in all this stuff that is made. I'm assuming they're talking about like the text on their website. You know what I'm saying? Something that was human-made. But they also go that we have the exclusive rights to derivative works. So the reason I'm pointing that out is because as I was going through their agreement, I go, your big question that you guys have at the top of the list is, I love using Udio for inspiration. Comes up with a great idea, and I'm not going to maybe use it exactly, or maybe I will. And I will verbatim recreate it, so I don't have an AI version anymore. I have a human-made version, but I got the inspiration from Udio. And so I'm looking for words like derivative works, because under copyright law, right, when we do have something that's human-made, let's say I make a song, and you go and you're like, oh my gosh, I was so inspired by your song. And you make something new that was based on my song, that's a derivative work, and copyright carries. So just meaning, I get to make a claim and be like, hey, you used inspiration and you created something based on mine. And so basically like we have to come up with a deal and you have to pay me some royalties or whatever. So for the AI created stuff, it's an interesting little wrinkle where we go, well, if there's no copyright in the AI song that I just generated, and then I go and basically rip it off, right? In the most extreme example, what can Udio do about it? So that's a part of our inquiry here. Music Attorney is your #1 legal resource for artists, producers, and record labels. Get contract templates, one-on-one legal advice, free master classes, and everything you need for your music business. Go to topmusicattorney.com. Moving on. 6.3, your content. This is the stuff that you are uploading. So in connection with your use of the services, you may be able to post, upload, submit content, other info. We're going to define this as your content. As between you and us, the company, Udio, does not claim ownership of the stuff you give us. Okay, great. Like I think that's totally fair. That's reasonable. Including any output generated by you. So I think what they're trying to say is basically if you give us lyrics that you own and then it makes a new song, but it's based on your lyrics, we don't own your lyrics, right? Now, again, are they saying that they don't own the entire output, right? The entire song that you created? And, I think that they need to clarify this piece just a tiny bit, but taking the entire agreement in context, no. Because what this agreement says is that they're giving you a license, a limited license to be able, and we'll go through this, but to be able to like take your song and put it on music platforms in some instances with limitations. Okay. So what they're saying is we don't own your stuff. You own your stuff, but when you upload your stuff, here's what happens. So subject to your compliance with the terms, including with limitations, section 6.4, you may use your output for both personal and commercial purposes. All right, those are really important words. Great. We can use what we make on Udio without restriction and put it on music platforms. We permit you to download a copy of your output, that consists of an audio file for such purposes. All right, good. In order to operate the services, okay, now we're going to get into some please pay attention language. All right. In order to operate the services, we may need to obtain from you a license of your content so that actions that we take in operating the services stay legal. Accordingly, by using the services and uploading your content, you grant us, as well as our affiliates, our assigns, so if we sell the company later on, designees, licensees, all the stuff, that all of us collectively have the right to publish, distribute, modify your content in order to operate the service. So where I wanted to, at the beginning of this, I just go, let me preface by saying, obviously, an app company that's having you upload your stuff to it, they're going to say, hey, we need to have the right to have your stuff on our platform because you're giving it to us. That's fine. But obviously, this is a very big net. And they go anyone, including our assigns and people we work with and our affiliates and all this stuff, we give them all the same rights as well. And this is always just where I'm just I understand with these terms of service, we have to go as wide as humanly possible, but that is what it says, that those rights would convey for use of your content. So it just makes me, as an artist, as a creator, a little nervous about wanting to put anything of mine on this platform because I'm practically speaking, apparently someone else might be able to download it, right? So going back to the terms here, they go for clarity, which I like, okay? I like it in contracts where the attorney drafting and the company is for clarity, let me talk about this more. So they go for clarity. This grant of right includes a grant of all rights necessary for us, our affiliates, our successors, our assigns, our designees to reproduce, store, modify, distribute, create derivative works based on, perform, display, communicate, transmit. You know what I'm saying? Because they're we might, use your stuff to train our AI. So it's not just that your output might accidentally get outputted to someone else and they're not supposed to use it for commercial purposes, but we're also going to use it for, training our AI. And then it does go on to say that, they have the right to monetize, they have the right to advertise with it. Again, your stuff that you put on the platform. They can promote, they can market. All right, let me show you these words so you don't have to just believe me. Okay, monetize, advertise, promote, market. And then also just to improve our services, okay? You agree that these rights and licenses are royalty-free, meaning we don't have to pay you anything. And we can sublicense, we can assign. We have a worldwide, perpetual, irrevocable, meaning you can never be taken back, right for us to make your content available to and pass these rights along to others, and to otherwise permit access to or disclose your content to third parties if we determine such access is necessary to comply with our legal obligations. So you feel me, right? I get it. It's just really far reaching. So again, just going back to me and how it makes me feel, I just am a little nervous. You know what I'm saying? So, and then it goes on again. It's for clarity, no compensation will be paid to you if we do use your stuff. All right, so let's move on because we still haven't addressed all of our questions. So then in section 3, as part of the foregoing license, grant you and you agree that other users of the service may have the right to comment on your content, to use, display, modify, but they can only do it for personal, non-commercial uses, okay? The company reserves the right, has the absolute discretion to edit any of your content for any time, for any reason, okay? By posting or submitting your content through the service, you represent and warrant that you have all the rights. All right, so guys, I do need to just mention this because this is for everything that you do, okay? If you're gonna upload music through a music distributor, if you're going to get a placement in TV, film, any place, if you're going to upload something to have it remixed by Udio, you have to make sure you own the rights. And the way that you make sure that that's clear is that you get a contract. If you're working with other people, if you are licensing beats, make sure the beat, or the license says that you have the right to do all of these things. So I want to get you guys into the practical mindset of protecting yourselves and making sure that your agreements are papered. Don't have just verbal agreements, please. All right, so here's something really important. It's attribution, which means like credit. Okay. So if, and this is the rule, if you exploit or otherwise make public any of the outputs, so any song you make or any of the contents, including in whole or in part, so like, maybe you take the stems, that you are required to give credit to Udio. And then I love their example. They go, example in the track title. I'm like, what would that be? Practically speaking, like Miss Crystal X Udio, and then like the song title. Sorry. So that's it. That is what it says. But they go, but it's specific to the free version. Okay. If you're using the free version and you make a song, you do need to give them credit. It's in the contract that you were signing, except if you have a paid subscription. If you have a paid subscription, then you don't have to do that. Okay. So the foregoing obligations shall not apply to you if you are a subscriber. In addition, please pay attention to this. In addition, you further grant to company and our affiliate successors, assigns, and designees the worldwide fully paid sub-licensable perpetual and irrevocable right to identify to the public that output or any of it was generated using the services. Now, right now, as far as I understand it, this kind of metadata, and I think it's called provenance information, there's legislation that's pending right now. And what essentially is trying to be done is to like put metadata in AI created stuff so that there's just transparency. You know what I'm saying? If it's AI created, that there is a way to identify with this metadata that cannot be removed. That's what is trying to happen. That's not the case right now, from what I understand. So I'm kind of like, I don't know how they would know. But nonetheless, that I also go back to this and I go, maybe you're an artist that kind of uses one of these platforms, or you got your hook, or you got your instrumental, you know what I'm saying? Like you got something from Udio and you didn't necessarily disclose it. And then maybe your song goes viral. And then, Udio is going to be like posting about it and be like, hey, brand new song. We did this. So I'm just pointing this out so you know. All right. Because they do reserve that right. All right, so let's move on real fast. There's just a couple other things, right? So we went through this in great detail. I just want to keep this concise. Disclaimers, limitations, okay? You access and use the service at your own risk. All right, it's as is. If you get a virus, if any bad things happen, that's on you. The output is considered for entertainment purposes only. Due to the nature of artificial intelligence and machine learning, your output may not be unique. Okay, let's take a beat. Due to the nature of AI, your output, the thing that you make on Udio, may not be unique, and the services may generate the same or similar output for a third party. And, again, just back to the whole like, I don't know. If it wasn't, I don't know if you make it for me, and also I get it. They're covering their bases here. But then also it's like the output may not be unique. Why is it not unique? Shouldn't it be unique? Just saying. Limitations of liability. This is where it says it's pointless for you to file a lawsuit. If you try to file a lawsuit, you cannot claim incidental, consequential, punitive damages, which is like your attorney's fees. It's the loss of business reputation, like any of the other stuff. You don't get to claim any of that stuff. Oh, and by the way, you also cannot seek any amount of money that is greater than either $100 or the amount that you paid to Udio in the last 6 months. So this limitation of liability is pretty standard across the board. And again, if I'm drafting this kind of contract, I add this in because I want to, protect my client. For you guys and for me, like, no good, because that means like literally it's pointless to file a lawsuit, because what are we doing? We're suing for $100. So just FYI on that. All right, arbitration. You agree that you will participate in arbitration rather than a normal lawsuit. You are waiving any ability to join as a class, but you can opt out of arbitration. Okay, I'm pointing this out by emailing info@udio.com, and you have to do that within 30 days of first registering for services. Miscellaneous. These terms, right? This contract is governed by New York law, and we care about that because, sometimes if you guys have a problem, you'll contact me. And so, when we have like issues with music distributors, for example, and we're trying to get your royalties released, we'll look at terms of service and we'll be like, what choice of law applies. And we have to do legal research, to say you guys are not allowed to do this. So anyway, for purposes of Udio, terms of service governed by New York law. And then if you want to contact them, what do? You email info@udio.com. So let's recap on the questions that we had. Who's having fun yet? Let's have our gavel moment. If you're excited and you're having fun, give me a big like. All right. So the questions were, number 1, can you use Udio for inspiration and to recreate and make something new? Is that the intention of Udio? Do you think that they want you doing that? I don't know the answer, but looking at the 4 corners of this, probably not, right? But they do have some kind of flexibility. And, they go, if you're using what we're giving to you in whole or in part, as long as you are a subscriber, right? We don't even care about you crediting us. So can you use it and then build on it and put your own stuff into it? I mean, obviously, I think that the intention, especially with this new 1.5 version, is that they're giving you parts, and they're encouraging you to pick it out. You know what I'm saying? And to create music. So would they have a huge problem if they found out that instead of taking their guitar loop, you ended up replaying it, and then maybe you had other stems that were from Udio? I can't speak for them. I can just say it seems like they would probably not have too much of a problem with that. And as soon as we find out that that's not the case, I will let you know. 2, do you own what you make? And that's the other piece here, because I'm always talking about our firm represents a lot of people who sell their music catalogs, and we really pay attention to your ability to sell without a problem. Because here, like, you don't own the copyright under copyright law. That's a big deal. When we go to sell music, they're like, hey, where are your copyright registrations? And you're not going to have them. But if you do, like if it's just straight Udio, if it's 100% AI, you can't register it. But you can, here's the caveat. You can if you have human-made stuff in it, and it's all kind of meshed together. But you do have to tell the Copyright Office when you file what the AI stuff is, so you disclaim it. And it's really important if you don't do that, that the Copyright Office may cancel your registration, even if it's like way later that it gets discovered. So do you have copyright? Well, you don't have copyright in any of the AI stuff, okay? But you do have it in any of your human-made stuff. So if you're combining and meshing, that's how you kind of work around that. And then, just the ownership piece of, well, do you own it? Well, you're getting a license from Udio to make the music. So I'd be curious if we do ever have a chance to have a conversation with Udio to even talk about this a little bit more. And in fact, guys, let's just, tag it up. Do me a favor, drop a comment if you want to have someone from Udio on the show, and we can just talk about kind of like their intention, you know what I'm saying? And just being like, look, if I have a client who uses your platform and wants to sell their song later on, and right now what it says is that you're giving a limited license for the person to use the thing. How can we clear this up? What's your intent? Like that's the piece I would really love to dive into more. So if you're excited about that and I'm excited about that, let's just go ahead and leave a comment down below. I'll see you guys on the next one.